Helmet just looked at me. I walked up in their conversation and he just looked at me. He's like, are you ready? The only reason that it all went so well is because it had to. My whole career rides on that weekends, they has to, no matter what, it just has to go well.
If you win an F1 race, could you see yourself saying I am speed?
If I win an F1 race, yeah, I'll 100% say that.
Okay.
When I cross the line, it's not my engineer's going to go, you're a Q3 Liam and you knocked out Max Verstappen. With drivers, everything turns into a competition.
All your karting equipment got robbed?
Oh, yeah, wow, you've done your research.
What's up, Franco?
Hello, Angus!
How is everybody doing?
How are you doing, baby? This is a big day.
Huge for the brand.
Big for the brand.
Yeah.
Listen, we're into this world of Formula One. Sometimes we get to talk to the actual people in the cars, but we get them for a few minutes. Seconds. You could count the seconds. Today, we have an hour with legend in this whole space, but especially last year, Liam Lawson, reserve driver and test driver for Red Bull on the pod. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Wow, that was an intro.
Yeah.
Listen, you're in America. We bring the noise.
We do.
We bring the noise.
We bring that WWE energy.
We bring that WWE energy. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. Arrived last night, so yeah.
From New Zealand, right?
From New Zealand.
So you're jet lagged as hell.
Yeah, very jet lagged.
Yeah. I was gonna complain about my travel schedule because I got on a flight this morning at 5 a.m. from New York, and I was like, oh, is everyone gonna feel sorry for me? And then you were just like, yeah, I got in last night from New Zealand, and you look so fresh faced, and I don't
feel it. It's funny because the start of this season, I feel like we've done loads of travel, and we're only five races in. Right. So once the European season gets underway, it's a bit closer and a bit easier, but it's been a bit hectic so far.
Yeah. Can I just say how humble you are? Because we were kissing your feet. You're like, thank you so much for taking the time. You're like, I got plenty of time.
No stress. Yeah.
Well, we want to get into what these weekends look like for you, because we're going to get into your time last year, your career, that whole thing. But last year we had a couple times where we saw you in Austin at Terry Black's.
We can bleep that if we don't want to.
You guys were there?
We were there. You were there with Hannah. You were there with Hannah Schmitz and a couple other people
with Red Bull. Yeah.
And I was like, there's 1,000 people, and you're just sitting there eating whatever. I'm gonna pretend I didn't memorize your entire meal, but you're sitting there and nobody's bothering you. And then we saw you in Vegas, walking down the strip, and I'm like, we were following you around the country essentially. How has that changed since then?
It's only if you walk with an entourage of people, then it's hectic. Then it's a lot more. You get a lot more people. But if you just walk around by yourself, or if you just walk around in a normal environment, it's not. You don't. But I'm not Max Verstappen or anybody like that, so I can't compare to those guys. But it definitely changed a lot after stepping in the car. Overnight, to be honest.
Yeah. We were kind of debating whether we should come up and say something to you. How do you feel now? Is there do you like the vibes of people recognizing you more? Are you kind of I want some more of that. Give me some more of that.
When people are nice, yeah.
Okay.
When people are nice, it's cool.
Are people dicks to you?
Are people ever mean?
No, not really.
What's the most annoying comment that you get?
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you in the car again. It's just that, honestly, it's the same thing.
Right.
Same.
Yeah.
Me too, mate. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's get into. Well, no, before we get into there, so a weekend like this, I'm curious about when you're prepping for a race like this, what is the baseline that you need of in terms of if there is a crash, if someone gets injured in free practice, a situation that happened with Danny, what is the process towards making you feel okay, I'm ready to jump in the race, on Saturday and Sunday?
The problem is not every weekend will be the same. So for an F1 driver, they'll do pretty much the same prep for every weekend. They'll do the same amount of simulator, the same amount of time with engineers, because obviously they know they're going to be driving. So for me, it's a bit different. I don't do some rounds I'll be really prepped for, but some I won't have any. Zandvoort last year, I raced in Japan the week before. Right. I didn't do a day of simulator. I didn't do anything. I literally turned up for that race with zero prep. So it depends on the weekends. Obviously, this weekend I had some stuff. I went from China to New Zealand, so I haven't done huge prep for Miami specifically. But then other races, like for the European races, I have loads of simulator lined up for those races because there's a lot of development around there. And then I'll be really prepped. So it really depends. Like, it's real random, race by race, how much I'll actually do. It's not the same for every time because I could do preparation for every race, but the chances of me driving are so small that it's more beneficial to basically do other stuff, to do development for the team or whatever.
Right. So if you were dropped in, let's say today, tomorrow, like what prep would you have done? Just a video game?
Yeah, not much. Dude.
Really?
Yeah, this weekend would be rough. Like,
you're like, I really hope I don't get tapped.
Which is honestly how I felt. Yeah, last year it was of all the weekends.
Right. If you're like of all the racing tracks in all the world, Daniel Ricciardo had to get injured at Zandvoort. So you like
so did you not know all the corners, or you knew it from the video
Luckily,
game?
I raced F2 the year before.
Okay.
So I had done the track. But I hadn't done any sim or anything like that. So, yeah.
But you might be fucked here because you didn't race F2 in Miami.
No, I've done simulator, but not recently. I've done it probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, but not prep for the weekend, that kind of thing. So,
but is this an easier track than Zandvoort? Or do you see this track? Do you see certain tracks and you're like, all right, I can figure that out in a couple hours?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
What are the easiest tracks? What are the tracks that you feel like you could cram for?
Yeah. It's like before a test. You're like, all right, I could just study for half an hour, put in a good half an hour's work, and get in there.
Monza's got to be the easiest.
Brian's been saying that for 9 years.
I've been saying that, and then people in the comments on the internet are like, "You fucking stupid Americans don't know shit." And I'm like, it's the only one I can do in the video game.
Well, in Monza you have two sections that are completely the same. You have two chicanes. One you start turning right, the other one you start turning left, but they're basically the same thing.
Right.
So you have a big braking zone, a chicane. The next corner is a big braking zone and chicane.
Right.
Then you have two right-handers that are basically identical, and then a Scari, and then another right-hander. It's like...
Anybody can drive Monza and F1.
But the difference is it's easier to learn, but then you get qualifying, the times are so close.
Right.
So everybody's within the same. And when we raced there last year, that was one of the races I did.
Yeah.
And I got up to speed really, really quickly, but getting that last tenth
bit.
to match Yuki at the time was it was so hard.
Yeah, perfecting it.
So you're there. You're kind of the understudy. Brian's in theater right now. You're kind of an understudy.
So I'm in a play right now in New York.
Yeah.
And so I have an understudy going on because I'm down here.
Yeah.
So, but I've been watching him kind of prep the thing, and sometimes it's you don't know if you're going on or not. But he's I'm so pumped for him because he's fucking great. He's a great fucking actor. And now he's going on. I'm gonna send him some champagne and some stuff just to get him in there. But
I guess my question is so you're you have to kind of stay ready, but so once the two guys qualify, do you get to just crack a beer, eat a pizza? What point are you just do you get to just celebrate? Not celebrate.
Start of P3, actually.
Start of P3?
And this weekend, as soon as the first practice, because it's sprint weekend, as soon as the first practice session starts, I'm effectively out. Because I have to do a practice session. So to be able to basically race for the weekend. So I need to do at least P3 or on a sprint weekend, the first practice session, because qualifying's up next.
Oh, so you're officially
off the clock.
Yeah, as soon as tomorrow morning, as soon as the first session's underway.
So you could be drunk the whole weekend.
As the session starts,
I could leave. I could leave. Yeah.
Okay, so
I won't.
Well, we're in Miami, so there's plenty available. You were just saying before the thing that you're it's hard when you're in a cool place, but you're fuck, why am I not racing?
Yeah,
and so it's hard to let loose. But I feel once that moment maybe hits, do you have any plans to turn it up this weekend?
No, honestly.
you're not Art Basel. I don't know. There's things to be doing.
Go ride on a jet ski with DJ Khaled.
I honestly, because even we're in a sick place, but we'll spend the whole day at the track and we'll go to the hotel and basically sleep. So,
so you're just gonna pay back your sleep debt.
Especially because I'm jet lagged and stuff. I'll just basically chill. It'll be pretty cruisy. They're all out. I think there are definitely guys that probably take advantage of the lifestyle of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're hoping for that opportunity. You're hoping for that opportunity when you're a reserve driver, and then last year you got it. But was there a feeling of can you walk us through the mix of emotions? Oh my God, I have an opportunity. It was at the expense of somebody else. Maybe I'm not, but I'm not as prepared as I'd like to be. Can you walk us through that?
Lots of, so it was, when the crash happens, and I knew what was sort of, I knew that there was a lot of decisions being made. So I have spoke about it before, but I don't know if you guys know, I had a meeting on the Friday morning with Helmut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that meeting, I have had many meetings, obviously, over the years as a junior. And on all of these meetings, it's normally I just sit there and basically be like, yeah, I understand, yes. It's normally either I'm being told off or I'm being told something I need to do to improve or something like that. And in this meeting, I was sitting there. I just crashed the week before in Super Formula. Like I just had a massive crash in Motegi. And but other than that, like the season was going strong. I'd been doing like all the Formula 1 work and everything was going good. And I was basically decided in this meeting, I'm going to sell myself to him, basically tell him why I think I should be in the car. And so I spent like 20 minutes doing that and asking him why he wouldn't put me in for 2024 and all these kind of things, until he basically, I think, just started to get a bit pissed off and was like, and then I left. And then the crash happened like an hour later. And
did you? What?
That's
what
called
part,
that's called manifesting, kids.
Well, yeah. At what part of you were you like, did I do that with my mind?
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Because I knew that they were deciding on what to do. Right. And I also know that when they were deciding on what to do, it wasn't like I was reserve, but they were deciding on not just me to come back. There was potentially other drivers that were going to pull back for the weekend. And I was like, I need to get in front of Helmut and Franz. I need to get in front of these guys and basically act like I've got all of this confidence that I could just get in.
Oh. Right. Wait, so even as the reserve driver, you weren't necessarily the guy.
You're meant to be.
Right. Yeah. You never know.
But you never know. Because it's Zandvoort, because it was like such a big one, like to learn quickly, the weather, everything like that. They could have brought somebody in that was a lot more experienced.
I see. Right.
So, they were going to do that, and so basically, I was like, I just need to I need to act, with all this confidence. And I found Helmut, and he was talking to Franz, and Helmut just looked at me. I like walked up in their conversation, and he just looked at me. He's like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "Yep."
And how much of that did you buy? Like, how much of that were you putting on?
Like 99%. Honestly, like you feel. I felt ready for F1.
Yeah.
But mid-season, even if it was a track that I knew, like jumping in mid-season, it's like these guys have been doing it all year.
Yeah. It
was P3, Zandvoort, wet. Like, and I just raced the week before in Japan.
Right.
I wasn't really feeling ready at all. Yeah. But like it was like when it was all happening, it was like, I knew this was the only chance I would ever get. So I was like, I just have to.
It's like that Eminem song. You only get one shot.
You only get one shot, man.
Well, and you nailed it.
And I think that's why, honestly, it's not the only reason that it all went so well is because it had to. Like my whole career rides on that weekends. No matter what, it just has to go well.
And there was changing conditions, right?
Yeah, man. Like that. Yeah.
When the conditions started changing, you're like, of course. The conditions, like,
why not?
Why? Of course.
Couldn't it be dry? Couldn't it be? Yeah.
Were you feeling bad for yourself in that moment, or where was
trying not to, because I was like, I'm in a Formula 1 car. And I get to race this weekend. This is what. Like
did you have was that your mantra? Like, how blessed am I? How lucky am I?
When in all the moments that I was thinking, because I have a mental performance coach I've worked with for years, and in all those moments where I was like, of all the places, why did it have to be here? Why did it have to be wet? Why did it have to be like this? I basically, every time my mind went there, I had to switch it straight back to, I'm getting to race a Formula 1 car this weekend. Yeah, this is amazing. Like, this is the coolest.
In sobriety, they talk about that. It's like whenever you go straight to gratitude.
So important, yeah. And that's totally what basically helped. That's what I was doing for the rest of the weekend, basically.
That's so interesting, because I think it's like, in my mind, I think, the charge is fuck that, I'm proving myself, fuck you for doubting me. But then it's like, for you to find a positive energy to bring into those moments is really, that's an interesting thing. I think it's so fascinating to me, like the whole, we've talked to, a fair amount of drivers, like both like on the IndyCar side, and then like the selling yourself, like the George Russell PowerPoint, the kind of like that whole culture of that. Do you feel, is that something that you've had to like learn how to do? Because it's like, I'm just a racer now, all of a sudden I have to like, here's my, one sheeter about like why I'm your guy. Has that been an adjustment to like learn how to sell yourself?
That's part of the skill set.
Yeah, that's part of the gig.
It is definitely different. It's something that you first get like picked up as a junior, and these guys, especially in Red Bull, you're dealing directly with Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, and you're dealing with directly the top guys who are calling the shots. That's what's cool about the program is you don't like deal with other people, and then as you get higher up, you start to then talk to these guys. From the start, Helmut calls you the very first time that you sign the contract, and your direct person of contact is him, basically. So you spend years like speaking to him, but most of these conversations are just
one-sided
because you're so scared.
Yeah. When you're sitting across, when you're staring down the barrel of Helmut Marko, like what's the like? Are you comfortable with it now, or is it like every time it's scary?
Now it's better.
Okay.
Honestly, after 5 years.
Yeah.
But was that Friday the first moment where
it
you're
was
like,
definitely a turning point.
Boy to a man, like, pick me, choose me.
Yeah, and I spoke about so many things. Like I spoke about like so many things, not just about like I went back over the years and like brought up all the stuff, all the development, because I've been in simulator now with Red Bull for 2.5 years, probably like Formula One simulator, like developing the car, doing all that stuff. Like I brought up everything until really he was just like, okay, you need to stop now.
So did it feel cathartic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but I walked out pretty like pissed off because I knew, I was like, it wasn't getting me anywhere at that point. But then later in the day, I thought maybe that conversation was like the difference between them calling in somebody experienced and him going, no, he's ready.
Yeah. So you felt like maybe there was like serendipity to that, like it was luck.
Of being 5 years and never having a conversation like that, to have one that morning.
Wow.
That was where I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe this is meant to be.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How much is it like, do you have to, even in this point of, where you're at now, where it's like, you talk about the gratitude, but you also talk about like, being pissed off and being angry is a motivator as well. Like finding that like balance of like, all right, like I'm in this position, I'm frustrated, but I can't get bitter to the point where all of a sudden it starts to impact my life and impact my performance. How do you find that balance?
I think it's thinking back to like how amazing it is. Like thinking back to me being 10 years old and wanting to be a Formula One driver, and like I used to look at the guys racing in when it was GP3 and GP2 before it was F3 and F2.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, man, that's just amazing. Like I would love to do that. And like I've done all those steps and now I'm in Formula One reserve. So it's basically, again, gratitude, basically thinking about how cool this opportunity is, even though I feel like I should be in the car, or I feel like I've done enough to be in the car.
Yeah.
To basically just be like, it's still a wicked opportunity.
Yeah.
I can't. And there's so many guys, like from New Zealand as well, it's so rare. There's so many guys that, like I have close mates that are, have sort of tried to do the same thing, and so many guys that also deserve something similar, but don't get the same opportunity. I can't sit here and be like, this sucks.
Right.
Then look at these guys.
Of course.
You definitely don't complain to them about it.
No,
You're like, oh my God, I only got to race these 5 races or whatever. And they're like, must be nice.
I want to talk about, I heard you mention at some point that in your junior career that you all your karting equipment got robbed.
Oh yeah! Wow, you've done your research.
What happened? Did that come up with Helmut? You're like, I got robbed when I was a kid.
Part of the selling point. That was a long time ago. Yeah, that was ages ago. Karting was very expensive for us. Like even karting in general, like top level karting is crazy expensive. So my parents haven't paid for my racing since go-karts, which I'm very lucky for.
Your dad spent all the money on his shirts.
On what?
On his shirts.
On his shirts.
He was looking
very nice. He looked very nice. He looked like he had very nice shirts.
Was he in Singapore or was it Qatar?
He had these amazing shirts.
He was
Your dad's shirt game
shirts,
is.
They were down to he was letting the chest fly. I was like, let's go, Liam's dad. Let's go.
To be fair, like my dad, he does actually dress like pretty well. Yeah. I have to give him some credit for.
Anyway, it was a
the fandom noticed. On the broadcast, we're like, okay, Liam's dad, let's go.
But like in karting, my parents like spent everything. Like they gave my dad gave everything for me. Like my parents, they don't even own a house right now because they had to sell it when I was karting. So
wow.
Yeah, like they gave up everything for me to do that, and there was a couple of times where we just got super unlucky. We got robbed. Like we just moved up a class, and it was like the final class I raced it in karts. I was probably 12 years old, and we just got like new engines, new gear. I was devastated because I had a brand new suit that was like decked out, and it was sick. And then like the next day, it got stolen.
Where did it get stolen from? Like
outside a hotel, like just outside. Like,
was it in a trailer or like someone
in the back of the car?
Oh, someone broke into
because
the car.
we knew people that got stuff stolen out of the trailers. So we'd take our gear out of the trailer, put it in the car, and bring it to the hotel, and they got stolen out of the hotel.
Did you ever catch the guys?
No.
It was like police look into it, or
and the same thing, and then this, as we're like really unlucky with my dad. The same thing. We moved into. So when I did Formula Ford in New Zealand, we ran the car. Like we basically did it ourselves.
Yeah.
Like I was like, me and my friend and my dad were our own engineers, like trying to run this car. And we had one engine to last the whole season because we had no money. And my dad just bought this new trailer for the car, and it got stolen straight away, like outside the front of the house. So for the rest of the Formula Ford season, we had to borrow like a garden trailer and just bungee strap like a tarpaulin over the car and trailer it around the whole all of New Zealand. We guys like super unlucky with stuff like that. So wow. I'm surprised you guys found that because not many people would know. I mean, it was ages ago.
Yeah, well, we're journalists.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that goes into like that? You know, all of that kind of stuff goes into your motivation. I know that you talked about like growing up, you looked up to Lewis. Do like the drivers who have had to persevere through that don't have the advantages that some of the drivers have? Do you look up to those guys? Is there any dialogue that you have with people that have had that kind of same come up?
I think probably not so much with guys on the grid now, but it is definitely like a reason why I looked up to Lewis when I was younger, because it was pretty clear from when I was a kid. I first started go-karts, and it was, I was looking, even like my best friends around me, it was like, Dad, these guys have got, and I feel so bad talking about it now because, when I was a kid, I'd say to my dad, well, Dad, why don't we have this like trailer? Like, why can't we have a trailer like that? Or why, like, they've got like 4 engines and we've just got one. Like, why do we only have this? Like, why can't we go and test this weekend? Why can't we do this?
Yeah.
And I because I had no idea when I was a kid,
of course.
And I think, and then it was sort of, I read Lewis's book when I was a kid, and I learned basically about how he sort of came up, and it was similar to me, I guess. Which is why.
This episode is brought to you by BetMGM. As you all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season, and we'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. For the upcoming races, you can bet on which drivers will be P1 in each free practice. Listen, we know who's going to win the race. It's Max Verstappen unless his tire literally goes up in flames. But guess what? FP1, FP2, FP3, sometimes Alex Albon's on pole, and we don't know why. But maybe you could, and you could bet on that for every race. You can bet on quali. You can bet on who's going to win, you can bet on the season at large. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code DADDY, and you will get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code DADDY, because we're fun, just DADDY. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game or race. You can also bet on other things besides F1, but we all know why you're here. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code DADDY when you sign up. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code DADDY and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 for New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 21 and over only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico, or visit www.1800gambler.net for West Virginia. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
But, you read about like Michael Schumacher. He used all the old tires that people threw away and stuff like that. And, builds these. It makes you actually, if you can make it, it makes you a better driver for it.
100%. It made such a difference. Like in the very first few years of racing, my first couple of years of go-karts, I finished last in every single race. Oh. I was at the very back of the field every time. And my dad actually thought I sucked. When I started, my dad was just didn't think. I didn't know this at the time.
Just have fun out there.
Yeah, he was I'd be complaining Dad, the motor sucks. I cannot.
Right.
But I'm 7 years old, so my dad's like, yeah, I know, Liam, it's okay. We'll get one eventually. But he genuinely thought I sucked. And then it wasn't for probably a year and a half of go-karting before he got sick of me complaining, and he bought these 2 really good motors. and spent like loads of money on these two motors. And I remember like bolting this thing on for qualifying at this like national event, and just like looking at them like, well, this is the moment. Like, this is where we find out. Yeah. And
the rubber met the road for you. How old?
8 years old.
So he was like, if I don't put this P1, like I'll have to shut up.
And I'd literally qualified and raced by like the field would go away and I would just be on my own at the back. And I went from that. We put this motor on and I qualified pole.
Wow.
In this race.
Wow.
And it was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it was unbelievable. And that was a moment where karting got a lot more expensive for my dad.
You're like, I told you, pay up.
But that's when it got serious.
Right.
And it made such a difference. So, like, battling for every single, like, just trying to hang on to the field and, like, racing all the guys at the back for years and just trying to hang on with absolutely no gear made such a difference.
But it showed you. But it also showed that like you loved it, like because you would do it in last place.
Yeah,
you didn't have to be in first.
No, I hated it. Like I would do it, but I hated it.
Of
Like
course,
I was,
of course.
Yeah.
But only someone who really loved it would put up with that
For that long, maybe.
Yeah. And I want to get back to like, so you talk about gratitude and like how you were able to be like, I'm in an F1 car. I'm in an F1 car. You do fantastic. And then, in Drive to Survive, we all saw, they were reverting back to Daniel and Yuki. And, you could tell you were pissed. You kind of broke the internet when you were like, it should have been me. It's meant to be me. And by the way,
you make honestly, it's,
it was the most affecting part of this series.
Got into the sport through Drive to Survive. People talk about like, people have their criticisms of Drive to Survive. At its best, it feels like it gives an honest portrayal of people. And I feel like I felt like I got a real sense of like who you were on that show because you were just like felt like you were just yourself. You were like all of the emotions, and it was really I think it endeared a lot of people to you.
It endeared a lot of people to you. But I guess my question is like, how did you use that gratitude to like pull you back, and like how did you maintain an equilibrium during like those moments?
I'm still like I'm not. The door's not shut, obviously.
Yeah, right.
And I'm in a much better position now than I was before F1. So doing those races helped massively.
Right.
I wasn't being looked at for F1 before,
right.
Whereas now I am, which is really big. So even at the time, I was like, I feel like it should have been me. It's just basically been like I'm in a better position now, and again, like I'm still on the verge of F1.
Yeah.
Looking back at my friends in New Zealand, looking back at where I'm from, it's still a very sick opportunity. So
yeah, and you're still young as shit.
Yeah, still young.
We're 10 years older than you. Well, I'm curious if there's any what
it goes honestly in your mind. It goes back and forth though. It's like I'll bring myself to be appreciative of it, but then obviously I'll go back and say like, this sucks.
What more could I do?
Well, yeah, I think it's a balance. When people say like life's about balance, it's not like, and then I'm cool the entire time. It's like I'm pissed.
And then you see Ollie Behrman have one race, and you're like, I did 5 of those. I did 5. Does that bother you, or are you trying to? No,
the thing is, I know Ollie, so it was really cool, and I think it showed more about the fact that you can sort of a lot of us are ready to jump in and really get the opportunity. So. Yeah, I think it was, and he obviously did a great job as well.
I'm curious about during that time there was a clip in Drive to Survive when I think it was before Singapore and it was like Sainz and Max and they were just like this. They were like, this one's rough. Yeah. This one's. I'm curious were there. I'm sure there was like plenty of moments of people like giving you like encouraging words or encouraging times. Was there any did people was there a hazing process at all? Did anyone ever any of the other drivers mess with you a little bit? In jest?
Actually, to be honest, I was quite surprised. Everyone was very nice and welcoming, and like Zandvoort especially, there was a couple of guys that were, Charles was really, really nice. Like he was like, well done on the opportunity and enjoy it, and Max as well. We share in the European race about the energy station, and we share not rooms, but the rooms are right next to each other, the driver rooms.
Yeah.
And he was like, he came into my room before the race and was like, make sure you enjoy the race. And try and remember to enjoy it and not put too much pressure on yourself. And he was real nice about it. So, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So they were all pretty good.
Okay. So what were I know you probably, when you're lining up for your first race, that was probably a pinch me moment. Were there any smaller pinch me moments that were they holy shit, this is happening? Or what were the subtle pinch me moments? Was it your?
The first one, I guess you guys have played the games. Have you played the games?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like the cut screen you load in and you sit and like the cut screen of loading into a race, you sit in the garage and the like screen comes down and
the
there's all the
setup and-
photographers. There's like all the photographers around. And before P3, like I got in the car and the screen came down and like all the photographers are there. And dude, it was like straight from the game. I was like, this is so sick. It was unreal.
Wow.
Like I went straight to being
did
a
you
kid.
then say in your head, this is just like the video game?
Honestly, I was like this. I remember thinking to myself, this is like me at 8 years old playing the F1 2010.
Wow.
That was exactly what it was like. So,
That's amazing.
The screen comes down. So what's on that screen in real life?
Yeah, what's on that screen?
it's a lot more complicated than what's in the
Do you have a
game.
controller and you're like, I want this on the rear wing?
No, you actually don't.
You can adjust your arrow on the.
You tell your engineers what you want to have on the screen, but it's like a whole bunch of stuff you can have. But yeah.
So that was the moment. You're
That
like,
was one of-
I am the video game.
What
right
about
now.
when you were the only, car from the Red Bull family in Q3 in Singapore?
Oh, was that like a? Did you? Were you
I
like
mean-
both happy and also like, oh shit, I just knocked Max out of Q3?
I mean, that was we were freaking to say we were losing our shit when you did that.
yeah.
I mean, like Max he's on this, we're Max fans, but when you hit that in Q3, we were losing our shit. How did it feel? I mean, how did that moment?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not like when I cross the line, it's not my engineer's going to go, you're a Q3 Liam and you knocked out Max Verstappen. Like,
But you found out eventually.
He's like
you're Q3 P10, and I was like, great. But actually, I remember there was some stuff that we had to like improve for Q3, and so I wasn't totally happy anyway, and I didn't know I'd locked out Max. So I drive myself back to the garage. I get in, the screen comes down, and then I see the like timings, and I see everybody, and that's when I was like scrolling down and looked at the names and saw it, and then I saw the like the time difference, and it was because it was like 0.01 of a second or something like that, and I was like, oh. Sorry, dude.
Sucks to suck.
Did you see Helmut Marko after that, and you were like,
Yeah, so I want to talk about another teammate of yours, Yuki Tsunoda. So we've read that you and Yuki go back.
Yeah.
He lived with your parents in New Zealand?
No, he didn't live. He didn't live with. He came to. So there's a series called the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand.
Yeah.
It used to be like really, really big, especially before COVID.
Yeah.
And basically we were both competing in it as teammates. And so he came to New Zealand, and we'd been teammates the year before that in F3 in Euro Formula. So I'd spent a lot of time with him already. So when he came to New Zealand, he basically just hung out with us a lot.
Gotcha.
Like I basically drove around with him.
So it was like stepbrothers a little bit?
Honestly, yeah.
What was your favorite thing to do with him growing up? What was like
It
your
was
go?
always away from the track.
Yeah.
Because away from the track, like he's a really, really funny, genuine dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously it's hard. Like it's hard, man. When you're competing, especially with Yuki, I've always been competing for the same seat.
Yeah.
So it's like at the track, it's real intense, and then but away from that, it's real cool.
Yeah.
How are you able to maintain a friendship when it's just like, blood sport out there for these few seats?
At points, it's not like at points over the years. It's not a friendship, and then and then he like obviously his journey was pushed a lot earlier than mine. He went to F1 quite early, so then I wasn't really in competition with him anymore.
Right.
So
Has that helped your friendship?
then we were pretty chilled again, and then we're put in a competition again.
So when you have that moment in Japan, like what happens after? How are you able to decompress after something like that in Japan, where you're like getting really close and stuff like that?
You mean like in the race?
Yeah.
Or like after.
Like it seemed
after
like
the
he was
fact.
frustrated on the
Yeah,
or
yeah. I mean, you
when
guys were racing hard, you guys were wheel to
or
wheel.
is that just like comes with the territory and that's pretty chill?
For me, that was probably the most important of all the races, because all the ones before that we'd had good results, we had points in Singapore and all these things, but there was the question mark because he hadn't finished any races. Like he always had either crash or a problem or something like that. And then Japan, we both started together pretty much on the grids.
Yeah.
It was finally a fair, like now I got to race him.
Yeah.
And there was no more like, oh, but he didn't finish or because of this.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, that was like the most satisfying of all the races, to be honest.
And it was a kind of there was also like you both had raced at Suzuka a fair amount. Like you had grown up racing there. You had done super formula stuff there too, right?
And then in the race we did the same,
Yeah.
exactly the same strategy.
Yeah.
Exactly the same,
There was
same
no
tires,
excuses, and
it was
Yeah. So, were you kind of panicked? You're like, if I crash into my teammate, though, it's over.
I don't know if you saw lap 1, but like lap 1 we were side by side
Right.
for most of the lap.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was so close.
Yeah.
So
Are you extra panicked when you're racing your teammate, or you just treat everybody the same? Is it like that's always something we think about? It's like, are these guys like just a little bit different when they're racing the teammate, or are you just racing?
in Formula One, it's more important. Yeah, like because the only person you can actually compare to on the grid is your teammate.
Right. Yeah.
Like no matter what team you're in,
Yeah.
you can't make a fair comparison to any other driver unless you're in the same team.
Yeah.
Because the cars are so different. So yeah, obviously it's very important to beat your teammate. Like that's the main thing you have to do. But you don't, when you're racing, you don't like, it's real weird. You go into a whole different like zone or world than what you feel before. Even Zandvoort, very first session.
Yeah.
I'm obviously really nervous and I'm thinking about all these things, and it's intermediate tire. I've never even driven on intermediate tire. It's wet. And then as soon as you drive out of the garage, like you're just comfortable. You're not comfortable to push the car on the limit because it's new, but like you're driving and then you're almost in another sort of zone where you're not panicked, and it's the same when you're racing people. You're not often that you actually panic.
So
Right.
I have a question about that. So like you obviously did a great job, but you was still your first time in the car. Like where do you think because you were a rookie, where do you think you have like the most room to improve? Like where do you think like, oh, if I got back in the car, like this is where I could like the most margin? Because like Oscar Piastri, for example, he impressed a lot of people, but people are like, oh, he needs to work on his tire maintenance. Like where do you think like you need more time to reach like your peak, Liam?
I think the biggest thing was qualifying, going from you basically get like new sets of tires, like so many tires in F1, which is amazing as a driver. You get so many new tires.
Yeah.
It's very rare in F2 and everything else. You don't get that many tires, so it's like a luxury. And it's knowing basically when you go from like practice to quali, the power gets turned up, the fuel load gets a lot less. Basically, you have to like make this percentage of a step. Basically, you have to make a step everywhere, when you brake, when you turn, how much speed you carry, when you pick up throttle, over the whole lap. And it's like, it's basically the same amount every time, pretty much. And it's knowing how much to step up and do that, basically, which is really, really tough.
Interesting. So the kind of experience of like those quali laps, it doesn't really, it's a whole kind of other game a little bit.
It's like we'd always like in the qualifying, most of the sessions I did and most of the races I did, I'd use 3 sets of tires in Q1 instead of using 2, which is most common, because I was always like on the safe side. I wanted to make Q2.
Right.
And I was always a little step away on that first set because I didn't know how much to step up.
Yeah.
So I would always end up using an extra set. And so I would say overall it's qualifying. It's like putting the car on the limit on a new tire.
Helmet, if you're listening, he's being modest. He knows everything. So.
We touched on Yuki. I just want to ask one question about Yuki. I think in one of the early seasons, Drive to Survive,
You were in his room.
you were in his room, and his room was like all messy, and then he was like, he was annoyed that they put it in.
Did you catch him on a bad day, or is that just it?
Is his room just a mess always?
That's literally, I don't know now. Oh no, actually I went to his house recently and it's a lot better.
Okay.
He's improved. Okay. Because like this was, I remember it wasn't really, it was fair because you shouldn't really live like that anyway. But, but I remember he just moved into this apartment at the start of, I think it was the start of that year. And it was the year before. But same thing, COVID hit basically, and I went to New Zealand because I was about to get locked out of the country, and there was no racing, and Yuki stayed in Milton Keynes for months.
Right.
Just honest, he didn't go back to Japan. Like he just stayed in this apartment,
Like Castaway.
And so, but I helped him move into this brand new apartment, and it was sick. And then I went to New Zealand, and I came back 3 months later.
He's got a beard.
And like, dude, and I walked into this place, and it was just like, dude, like this bad, like it was real bad.
Like takeout and
like just food everywhere. And
my
like
God.
the laundry basket was just like
Exploding.
overflowing.
Yuki was basically all of us during COVID.
Yeah.
Wow. New Zealand was like the best place to be during COVID, right? You guys did, or not, or maybe initially, and then
It was, and then it was real strict. It was good because we had basically, there was periods where we had no COVID. Like
Yeah.
nobody had it.
Yeah.
But like it was so, you couldn't drive town to town. It was very, I wasn't there for that though.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I got locked out of the country.
Oh.
So I could like at the end of the season, sometime it would take me quite a while to be able to get back home.
Yeah. So, what are you most competitive with Yuki off the track? Like, what do you guys like to?
Oh, dude, everything.
Yeah.
No, like everything. We like at the moment. We've been playing table tennis.
Oh,
on,
okay.
like just little desks. Or
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
Like
Like
that
little-
one over
Oh,
there.
you'll just make
one. Yeah, we'll just make it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Not
who's-
like on a proper one.
Who's up?
He plays a lot more, to be
Okay,
fair.
so
but
he crushes you.
No, I knew. So we played in Japan. I think I had him in Japan, and then we played last week, and he beat me. So
You don't keep a series tally. Are you better on certain surfaces? Like if it's a dinner table, you got him.
on the smaller table, I had him, but on the slightly bigger table, like depends on what table you get on the race weekend.
Okay,
depends on
okay.
what like table that comes with the.
Would you play on something like this?
This would be a massive table.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be
We're
a wild
talking
one.
like the one with the drinks on it.
No way. You play on a table that small?
Tiny, dude.
Are you
Japan
crazy?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I like you like had to create your own like a whole new technique of playing the game where it was just like you just do like backhands because anytime you'd forehand it, you'd just go too far.
Right.
And what's the net?
We do have a net.
like an adjustable? There's like adjustable
Just
nets.
adjustable net that we like.
Yeah.
set up
Oh
on
my
little tables.
god! Do you
That's
how,
great.
how far back do you stand, or you just?
Well,
like,
it depends if the game is real intense. You just
Yeah.
walk back further back, and you play like at the
fucking
back
great.
of the room. The table's over there.
Wow.
Wait. So does anyone else partake in this, or is this just you and Yuki?
No, Daniel's involved.
Okay.
The trainers get involved. But
Who's
one
the
thing
best?
that was Daniel's pretty good actually.
Okay. Oh, really?
I think he's got. I think he used to play like some serious table tennis in the day because
Okay.
he's. But one thing with Yuki that was real funny that we did back when we were in New Zealand. We like I don't know how this is a thing, but you can rent a boat at like 15 or 16 years old and just take it out in Lake Taupo.
terrible
Okay.
idea.
And so me and Yuki are like, I was probably 17 or 18 and he was 19 or 20 and we just rented this boat and got like a biscuit or a tube. What do you call them? Like the
Oh
things
yeah,
that you
like
lie
a
on?
rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just took it out and basically it started off like real fun. Like we were just towing each other around. And then it just got like who could throw the other person off like the biggest. And we're just like trying to kill each other on this little tube in the middle of this lake.
just the two of you?
Just the two of us.
Oh my God.
Just out there in the middle of the ocean, like in the middle of the lake.
Just the two of you trying to kill each other.
It was so it was
That's
so
like a
rough.
fucking thriller, right?
Honestly,
there.
Yeah.
Like I've got videos of like of him and me like in the air, like meters in the air.
That is the kind of classic.
Who won or lost that game?
You both lost that game. It sounds like.
Yeah, I lost pretty hard in that one. To be fair,
he threw you.
yeah,
pretty-
I went off like big time. Yeah.
It seems like that's the common experience with tubing is that it's like it's fun and then you're like, am I gonna die today? That's
Yeah.
kind of feels like what.
So the thing
vibe
is like to turn and then let it like.
Just get it. Yeah. It
Off
was
the
how
wake.
you want to like turn and basically like hit the wave at the right angle and try and throw the.
Right.
So Yuki was a master at flinging you.
Well, he would like. Sometimes I feel like it's on accident. He'd like get a lot of slack and then it would
Sure.
just build up real fast.
right.
Sure, he said it was
On
an
accident. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Are there any other like like little competitions that you have with any drive? Like, do you ever like play? I know like Max is like amazing at FIFA randomly. Any like? Are there
Yeah,
any
what's
other
your special skill that's not driving?
I play guitar. It was not. Like, I don't compete with anybody.
Guitar
with that.
Hero?
No. Actual guitar.
Okay.
Right.
So-
What kind of music do you like to play on there?
Oh wait, I've seen clips of you when you were young playing guitar.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
they've like got
A young
back up on
Biebs.
TikTok. I just recorded actually in New Zealand in a studio. I just recorded a Zach Bryan song, like fully just recorded it.
Are you trying to get killed by Leclerc right now? That's his corner.
Yeah, no. Well, I got to try and do it better.
Okay.
Okay.
But he's doing piano, so it's
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
guitar
Do you sing at all,
Yeah.
or you sing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way you said it seemed pretty confident.
So wait, where's this?
No, not like
You just
I'm
did
not
this
confident,
cover.
but-
What's the plans? Where?
That's the thing. I've got this song. I've like just got it produced. Not produced, but like it's finished. But I don't know what to do with it now.
Release that.
When we're done, I'll show you, but
you could, play it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, get an exclusive here.
Yeah.
That would be. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. But,
Okay.
Well, I think we need to hear
What
that.
kind of voice do you have?
Yeah, what's-
like what's your vibe?
yeah, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. It's like, well, it's nobody likes hearing their own voice, but
Except Brian. Brian's a singer.
you can tell me what you think, but
Okay, yeah. Let's let it
yeah,
rip.
you guys don't think I'm. I feel like you don't think I'm serious. You're like looking at me like, is
No,
this
no,
guy
no.
serious?
We think you're serious. We just want to hear it. we just want to hear it right now. But that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to play it. Okay, so guitar. What about any other? What
like
else?
with drivers, everything turns into a competition.
Yeah.
So we had a rental car again in New Zealand with Yuki that we basically would make a little track and just set time trials.
Yeah.
Off the side of the road and
with a Camry or something.
Yeah, Yuki had this little Mitsubishi ASX. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a box car.
Yeah.
And we, with a couple of drivers, basically made like a little track, and it basically goes until Yuki crashed it. Yeah. And then we had
crashed his car?
fully stacked. And it wasn't even the funniest thing, it wasn't even he'd finished his lap. It was after the lap. He tried to be cool and do like a flick spin at the end and just totally sent it into a bank. And so we had to go to a store and get one of those plungers and try and plunge out the dent in the front of the so we had to give the car back.
Right. Yeah, of course.
That rental insurance, man. I mean, if I see you or Yuki walking into like an Enterprise or something, I'm just like, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I have a question though. I noticed in Drive to Survive that you had like a Toyota that you'd like kind of tricked out.
Yeah.
Supra.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask, like, obviously, like, you probably have a dream car, but what is like your dream, like, to pimp out, like a pimp my ride situation?
Well, I'm definitely into like the car scene of like modifying cars.
Yeah,
and it's big here. America's amazing for it.
X to the Z exhibit comes to your house and he's like, "I'll pimp your ride." Like, what are you doing to your car?
So the Supra that I have is actually pretty. I'm pretty stoked with how it's had a lot done.
It's
Okay,
perfect.
what do you have on there? What are we working with?
So it's it's coilovers, so it's like lowered based on custom springs, custom wheels. It's obviously then you like do basically body kit, and the cool thing is you make it like your own thing. So I have like a certain front splitter, and then I've got like a different brand rear wing, and then side skirts, and then like full exhaust, like custom exhaust, completely made, fabricated custom. Then it's tuned. I'm about to do a turbo.
I totally know what all these things are. I was hoping you were going to say like TV in the trunk.
Do you have do you have like I have a friend in New York who like tricked out his car and kind of did a whole thing, but then he has it riding really low, and then New York's just filled with potholes. So whenever we're driving, he's always like he drives like a crazy person, because if he hits the pothole, then the wheel cracks, and then all of a sudden he's
the splitter the front. Yeah, and the UK. You've been in the UK.
Yeah.
The roads are terrible.
Right.
So it's
So is it sometimes like a bird?
So impractical.
Yeah.
But
Impractical.
beauty is pain.
That's right.
And exactly. But it's even to the point where I was like, and this is like one of the biggest regrets I have is when I was doing the custom wheels, you get new tires for it because the tires are a lot bigger. And I was like, I'm going to do semi-slicks because like in the dry, it'll be amazing. And then when it's wet, it'll be so slippery that it'll just be fun to like slide around in.
Oh, okay.
You can drift a little.
Yeah, it'll just be like real easy to drift. And in the end, it's just lethal in the wet.
Yeah.
Like aquaplanes everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't even drive it. And it's never warm enough in the UK for the temperature to actually come into the tires. So you're just like
dealing with tire temperature. Like, don't you want to like take a vacation from your job?
Dude, you can't. You have to like start off real cruisy before you can do anything. Otherwise, it just wheel spins in like fifth gear.
Okay.
And my poor girlfriend who has to drive this thing around is just like, what is this, Liam? Like,
so when you're not there, she's like, fuck. She like looks at it, she's like, I have to drive this fucking thing. And it's raining all the time in the UK anyway.
Always. Dude, it's that was something that was dumb. And like, I won't do that again.
So your next purchase, you're just going to get a regular ass car?
Yeah, practical. Practical. A practical car. I'm looking at it right now, but because it is. But the thing with the Supra was like a build that I wanted to do, and then because the UK drives on the same side as New Zealand's, I'm going to send it to New Zealand this year.
Okay.
And it'll be like, because it's my first car.
Right.
I've always had loaner cars, so it's my first actual car. I wanted to build it out and then send it to New Zealand and leave it there.
Speaking of cars, we saw you recently got to meet your idol that got you into racing, Lightning McQueen.
Have you been there?
No.
We're not.
We're kind of above the generation of cars.
We don't get it. Can you explain the cars lore to us?
Everyone's like obsessed. Like there's all this like cars Formula One kind of like
Venn
diagram.
Yeah.
It's kind of lost.
You've seen the movie though, right?
We
have
a long time ago.
I haven't.
I have.
What? Of course you don't. You got to see the movie.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I see the memes and I'm like, enough already.
When I was
the Ferrari blue, everyone's like, it's like when they did the Lightning McQueen turned blue.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, why is everything being equated to cars?
Because it is the dude, it's like it. When I was a kid, I'm not like no exaggeration. I would watch the movie.
Yeah.
Like every second or third day. no, like I could like recite you so many scenes of the movie. Like I genuinely watched it so much as a kid. So
what was your most rewatched scene? Favorite scene?
The scene where he races, like where the turn right to go left. You don't know, of course you don't, because you need to watch it. Dude.
Talk to him. He's just looking at him.
Like turn right to go left.
Yeah. We gotta.
I explained the plot of Cars to the host before they got here.
We're familiar with it.
We're kind of familiar. Okay.
You got to explain. You got to explain to the plot. There's the first issue. You need to watch the movie and be like, and then they have this Cars Land in California, and it's Radiator Springs, which is like the town that they live in, and it's it's like. You're like in Radiator Springs, everything's to scale, and you're just walking around. They have like Flo's station, you got Luigi's tire store.
Do you use cars as like an inspiration for you? Like when you're feeling down, like there's more to life than going fast?
Yeah, I still, no.
So you're like too much. You didn't learn the lessons that Lightning McQueen learned. You're still like, I am speed.
Yeah.
So if you were in the position where you were like someone, like got crashed out, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to win the race. You're like, no, I'm going to let him win.
Dude,
I'm going to make sure that
a kid,
Alonso crosses the finish line.
I remember being a kid watching the movie, and when he stops to like push the king across the line to finish his last race, I remember being like, no, dude, like, you gotta win. Like I remember rewatching it and being like, don't stop, because I thought I could change the plot. Like after watching it, I'd like want him to finish.
And I know all the cars have a noise, like a catchphrase, like what?
Ka-chow.
Yeah.
What would your noise be?
Oh god.
Do you make any noises in the car?
No, well, I don't know.
You got to think. I mean,
what's your
I feel like
car's
everyone
noise?
has their like little moment, right? It's like science says on the Smooth Operator.
Yeah.
Tell me we have it. Tell me we have it.
Yeah.
And Max says Simply Lovely. I feel
What's-
like it has to be a
what's-
Cars inspired.
I am
moment.
speed.
Yes, I'd have to think. I don't know.
I mean, who's your guy in that movie?
Lightning. Yeah,
And his thing is Ka-chow, right?
Ka-chow, I am speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am speed. Like,
So if you win an F1 race, could you see yourself saying I am speed?
if I win an F1 race, I'll 100% say that.
Okay.
Okay,
You heard it here. Okay.
You're here first.
Oh, how did you feel about becoming a meme?
When did I become a meme?
Here.
Yeah, dude. This I just lost. I guess you have no idea where this photo is actually from.
That's why we're asking.
Yeah.
about it.
What's the deal here?
Did you ever see the finale of I raced in DTM with Alex Albon. We were teammates a
Right.
couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what DTM is?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I raced in DTM, and I lost in the last race. I got taken out, like in a real bad way.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
I got like fully torpedoed.
Okay.
And I lost the championship in the last race, and like I don't drink. I don't like really ever drink, like ever.
Yeah.
But
that night,
I was like, there's a butt coming.
I did.
Yeah.
And my friend took the photo the next morning, and that was the state basically that I was in. So
Okay.
that's where it's from. And then somehow this guy, I don't know like why, but he posted it because I don't know how everybody else has seen this photo.
Yeah.
But yeah. What was the meme? What was?
It's just like when you're surprised or taken
Yeah, just
unawares.
a picture speaks 1,000 words, and this one I think speaks a couple thousand. You know what I mean?
It's like when you wake up to find that Max is P11, or like something crazy happened overnight, and you're waking up
to crazy news.
yeah.
No, it speaks to the vulnerability that you're ready to give,
Yeah.
which both in this interview and Drive to Survive, which we appreciate as fans.
Yes.
I think that's what the thing we appreciate above all.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks so much for being so
Yeah,
generous with your abundant amount of time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate. So we start this pod. We say "What's up, Vankas," which is an ode to Gunter Steiner. In the pilot episode of Drive to Survive, he goes, "We look like rock stars. Now we look like a bunch of fucking Vankas."
Yeah.
So could you honor us with a goodbye, Vankas?
So what do I say?
Just
Goodbye,
goodbye,
Vankas.
Vankas.
Goodbye, Vankers.
Yes.
Goodbye,
Goodbye, Vankers.
I don't care.